Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Mama Beauty's here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm so sorry. This is adult content only, and there are some trigger warnings here. This is the letter to my stepfather, and so if you are sensitive to childhood abuse or domestic violence or anything of that nature, I am just giving you a warning for this video. I actually had to get myself back into treatment and am currently back on subs, you guys. I went to the doctor on Friday, and so I spoke to someone and they said that it is good to ride out your trauma. And so it really was good, you guys. After I wrote it out and read it, I was like, wow, that was really, really relieving. And so I recommend it to other people if you're ready for that, if you're in a treatment program where you can be watched and all of that. We all know that I am a survivor of domestic violence and addiction. And so I got myself put back into the program, and I am so ready to continue my journey. And I wanted to be honest with you guys, and it is okay. I didn't go back to my drug of choice. I didn't go to the streets. I didn't find what I normally would have found. I was having cravings. And so I think it was because of the holidays and not having any family around. And so it's just tough. You guys know how it is. You know exactly how it is. But because of it, it has given me the courage to share with you my story of how my mother passed. And I am just hoping that it can help somebody understand that it happens every day in life. This happened in 1992, so imagine how worse it is today. And I'm hoping that I'm not going to cry and that I have the strength to continue on without crying. Okay. The feelings of fear and anxiety as a fragile child hiding while your mom is being ridiculed and taunted and abused by a drunken man, half her size, but full of so many demons that she so desperately just wanted to get him back to that deacon she had met in that small Baptist church she had fled to. The protection she thought she had from her prior husband, who bloodied my brother's nose regularly and went on a PTSD nom trip, so to speak, and held my toddler brother's head under the water just for crying while he was getting his hair washed when I was a tiny infant. She really thought that church in Oklahoma was her safe haven. Little did she know the Prince of Darkness had led her straight into the arms of the man that would molest her 2-year-old daughter for over a decade and murder her and leave her body outside to disgrace her one last time beyond her death. I don't know why she picked these men. My grandfather was the kindest man you could ever meet. Was there something deep and dark I had not known about in my grandmother? I do remember a time as a child where my mom and my grandmother were fighting, and she kept slapping my mom, and she just stood there and took it like an owned animal that needed tamed back into that strict farmer's ways. She thought she could pray the darkness out of people or show them through her own testimony. But people just used her repeatedly because of her big heart. They left her feeling alone and desperate and without options. I saw her reach out as a child so many times just to be judged for even getting into that position to begin with. I saw even as a small child how lost my mother was, how terribly alone she felt. On one hand, lying to everyone to protect this monster, and on the other, the actual torment she went through second by second in her head about what her abuser said he would do to her family if she left him. I saw her cry and stay in the bed for days. That's when me and my big brother went into adult mode and held the house afloat, selling Garbage Pail Kids or whatever hustle we could to get to buy $10 for $1 ramen noodles or 4 for $1 candy bars. My evil stepdad was a trucker. He stayed gone for weeks at a time. I remember how much Mom struggled with it, but I welcomed it like it was Christmas morning. I remember hating him for making her like this. I remember all the times she fought back, one ending with her clothes and shoes cut to shreds. I remember all the canned jars of jellies and green beans being busted all over the entire house and it being unlivable as if a fire had taken it down to the ground. I remembered going and hiding. I remembered talks of restraining orders and a terrified adult saying, "He's outside with a shotgun, get down." I remembered the way the beer breath smells, being startled with it in your sleep. I remember being the big sister that would go and try to hide in her baby sister's bed for protection. I remember the sheer terror of it. If I had told anyone, he would kill her. He told me so. Well, I didn't tell, and you killed her anyway. Was it because she somehow knew and confronted you with it? Terry, why was she running up and down the street at 2 a.m. screaming for help that morning on July 10th, 1992? Why was she found dead on the front porch 4 hours later? Why, Terry? Why are you alive and she isn't? You are the one that busted 10 fish tanks all over the next house that we lived in. I remember fleeing to North Carolina to go back to your fleeing from North Carolina to go back to your demonic ways in Texas. I remember I almost told that night, but I could see how excited she was, my mother smiling again because of the "I found God again" rhetoric you had fed her. I remember thinking, God is real. Maybe you had changed. But if you believe in the light, you must also believe in the dark and that it exists. Darkness and others also have the same free will that I do to do right. The vortex of an abuser will suck you back in worse than standing outside in the middle of a tornado. It's strong and fierce against a victim who is weak and easily manipulated. But the second the beer cans and the roaches started infesting the next new home, I knew what was coming. But then at 14, a shimmer of hope. She left you high and dry, got approved for HUD housing, and was rising above the satanic monster demon my precious God-fearing mother had thought was her Prince Charming. She believed you were sent from God, that you had to be good. You both met at church. You were the deacon and the preacher's son. She had no idea underneath you were a sick freak with no morals. Mom was getting away from you for good this time. I hauled my butt off to church camp with my baby sister, and my brother went to his drug rehab. You knew she was all alone. She was terrified and on alert because of you. She told the pastor's wife that she slept during the day and stayed up all night sewing. She knew what was coming, and that breaks my heart into a million pieces. In Terry's sick mind, he had thought that he would get all of your kids. But God was bigger than him. His darkness had prevailed over her death, but that was not about to happen to this innocent little girl again. I had actually started my monthly for the first time ever after she passed. I was at camp for a week. I started on the Friday on the church bus ride home. Little did I know my mom was already dead. I was instantly consumed with thoughts of getting pregnant. And now I have to tell I was a child dealing with this alone, and immediately I wanted to throw up. I felt shame and fear take over and consume me. I was normally outgoing, but on the bus ride home, I was quiet for 10 straight hours. I jumped off the church bus and ran into the nursery where the phone was to call home and to tell my mom all about camp and what was going on with me. But there, oddly, was no answer. That can't be right. My brother was in rehab for stealing and totaling her car. She has no way out. So it was not. Oh, she has no way out, and it was so hot and in the middle of July. She had asthma so bad she had an oxygen tank if she needed it. She was always home. I found out later that Terry earlier that week had been harassing and terrorizing her and constantly been threatening her every night, and had taken her air conditioning unit and had taken her fans so she could not breathe, let alone fight back, or she would have had an asthma attack and been all alone. I spent many nights with her in the ER getting nebulizer treatments while he would drink himself into a stupor in the parking lot and then drive us all home afterwards. I remember this time was different. You had been gone a long time. Mom was starting to become her old self again. I think you knew this deep down too, Terry. I think it drove you to that same breaking point you hit when you killed your first wife. You know, the one we all found out about after you killed Mom. She too was found outside strangled after fighting with you and deciding to leave you. This killer took away my "you have become a woman" talk. You took away my feminine hygiene talk. You took away my stay in school and don't settle for a GED talk. You took away my "don't give your body to boys in high school, they don't really love you" talk. You took away my prom talk, my graduation, my wedding. You took away my kid's grandma, my labor and delivery with my mom. You took away the one person I trusted. You took away having anyone there when I bought my wedding dress. You took away the one person to teach me to be a grandma. You took away my holidays and my birthdays. You took away my self-worth. You took away a part of me. You get to sit alone in a house your dead parents gave you, and even cirrhosis of the liver can't take you slow enough. I never ever got to confront you. Maybe I should bring detectives to your house one day, or mail this letter to the sick man that got away with murder twice on top of my molestation for over a decade. I bet you feel all powerful and mighty, but don't sleep well at night. Be aware that you never know when law enforcement might just be knocking at your front door. Don't get too comfortable, Terry Leroy Duncan. My mother gave her life for me, and God made sure I never laid eyes on you again. But just know that you will face judgment one day, as will I. But I don't have anything I have to hide. Can you say the same? I don't have murder and child rape to answer to. Can you say the same? Was I the only one? Do you have more victims of your sick wrath of destruction? You left me with unrepairable scars that have evolved me into an unstoppable pillar of strength that cannot be broken again. The glue that repaired my broken pieces of life is the woman that I have become because of that past. And you can never take away the amazing power that I have, because I can speak up and I'm not afraid of you. And I just might confront you before you take your dying breath. Remember that.